So we have been creating our Fireflies here in a Jupyter notebook, but some of the real benefits of an agent-based model that we're not getting from the notebook is the visualization, the 2D world of Fireflies flashing. This notebook we've been making is wonderful for gathering data and plotting and running experiments, but users sometimes, and you yourself, can do a lot of debugging and understanding if my model is working or not through a visualization. Mesa has a great way to do visualizations. What we've been modeling here has been the Firefly model from the original Net logo. It is a very classic agent-based model using a different language than Python, but it really highlights, and you mainly run these models so that you can do awesome visualizations. So this is where we want to go next. The thing that we're going to have to do, though, is start taking our code out of the notebook and putting it into files on the file system so we can start running it. Let's go ahead and do that. So I have open a window so I can edit some code here. I have my directory. I am going to make a new folder called Fireflies. And inside there, I'm going to make 3 files. One of them for the agent, one of them for the model, and one of them for the new server that we're going to add. So let's make one called agent.py. Inside there, let's take all of the Firefly piece. This helps me organize my code. It's not necessarily required, but it is the thing we need to do to help us just keep track as we add more things. Mesa models are generally set up like this. So we need to, from Mesa, import agent. That's the only real piece that this agent needed in order for it to work. So we import the agent. Everything else was code that we wrote ourselves. Next thing we need is the model. New file, model.py. Again, we are going to import the model here. And the model required the time and the space pieces and data collection. So all of that is going to be up here at the top of the model. And then we are going to copy in our Firefly world. Let's take that down here. And now we have 2 files, our agent and our model, all ready to be used through the file system to run our server. Okay, make a new file called server.py. Here comes the new things. The server is going to need to know about visualization. And the visualization has a bunch of things that we just need to include. We're going to draw things on a canvas grid. From Mesa visualization, import modular server, and then from Mesa visualization user param, import user settable parameter. So, excuse me, a lot of classes that they wrote through the Mesa package so that we don't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting of how do I draw things on the screen? How do I put things together? There's so much support that we're going to get here. Okay, so our server needs to know about the agent and model we just created. So from that model class, import Firefly world. From the agent file, import Firefly. So that's where these names matter. We just made model and agent.py. They are importing from those. We've essentially created our own little library there with things inside it. Okay. The next thing we want to talk about is how are the fireflies going to be seen on the screen? What are they going to look like? In Mesa, we create a portrayal. So I'm going to make a firefly portrayal. And when it is called, someone is going to give this function an agent, and the agent is going to return a dictionary full of pieces that the server will need to draw it on the screen. We don't do the actual drawing, we just say this is what it is. Please draw it like this. So it's helpful for us to say, hey, if there's nobody really here, I don't need a dictionary at all. Nothing is going to happen. Otherwise, let's give myself a dictionary. Now, technically we know in our model every agent is going to be a firefly, but I want to write it like this so we have a good example of how to extend it if we happen to add more agents. So if the type of the agent is firefly, I need to go fill in my Portrayal Dictionary. Oh, I need an A up here to spell it right all the time. I'm going to say it looks like it has a shape of a circle. We're going to give him a circle. We are going to say because it is a circle, I need to know the radius of that circle. It is going to be 1. I want this circle to be filled in. And I want it to be on layer, let's say layer 0. I'm just going to put it in there. If you have multiple agents, you want to be putting them on different layers, and this tells you who gets drawn over top of who else. So if you have an environment, you want it to be at layer 0 and your agents at layer 1 or layer 2. So the agents are drawn on top and not behind all of the squares of the world. Okay, so here is where we're going to determine the color of it, and the color is dependent on, hey, if the agent is flashing, then I want to make the portrayal color equal, say, some kind of nice yellow. F, C, D, 1, 2, A. That looks good, but I need to have the pound sign at the front. If I don't include the pound sign, it will not work. Now, one of the things about Mesa that frustrates me is that if you do something wrong with your portrayal, there are not good error messages. There are some good error messages if you're like, oh, you forgot to do this. All the Python things in agent, all the Python things in model. If you mess up your Python, Mesa will not work and it'll give you the Python messages. You mess up in your server, it's a little bit more difficult to do debugging because things might just not look right on the screen and it's not going to tell you what's going on. So one of the most common things is to have your colors wrong. Missing your pound sign has been a very common problem for us this semester. Portrayal color, and you're like, oh, if you're not flashing, I am going to make you 964B00. Kind of a brown. Okay, last thing not to forget. We have this dictionary. We need to return it. If you do not return this dictionary, nobody can be drawn on the screen because you have a function that does nothing. So let's carry on. This is our portrayal of our Firefly. How do they look on the screen? Okay, the next things are kind of boilerplate from how to make a Mesa model. And let's do them. We need a canvas element using our canvas grid that we created earlier. We imported that canvas grid and it is going to take in our Firefly portrayal and be 30 by 30 pixels for each square and fit that into a 300 by 300 screen. Next thing we need to do how do we figure out our model parameters? When we run our Firefly world, when we ran it back here, we were able to give it parameters. Firefly world took in things. The width and the height and the cycle length and the flash length. How are we going to do that here in the server? Those are going to come in through another dictionary. And our dictionary is going to be called the model params. Here's our dictionary. Our dictionary will have the names inside as the keys, and the values of this dictionary are going to be the numbers that we would fill in. Width, 30. Cycle length, 10. Flash, 1. So this is how we set up those parameters. Now, cycle length and flash, we made them parameters because we wanted to change them and test them. This is something the user, the visualizer of our model, would really like to do. And so here's where we start coming to the user settable parameter. We say, yeah, 10's a good number if you do want to do it once, but let's make a slider. A slider is going to be a user settable parameter. Slider. Let's give that slider a name so they know what's going on. Cycle length. This is a nice English readable name. And then we're going to say our initial value is 10, and it's going to range from 1 to 20 in increments of 1. Initial value, minimum, maximum, incrementation. Okay, so let's try that again. I am going to put in the flash as a user settable parameter. It is again a slider. Let's call it flash duration 1. That was our flash length before. And let's have it range from 1 to 5, increment again in 1. There we go. Last piece to get it all going, we need to make the server. Modular server, and it brings in Firefly world. This is where we pass in the name of the class, not with parentheses. Those get added later because when we run this, we're going to get a cool button that lets us reset, and that reset is going to recreate everything. So we also pass in the canvas element. It goes inside a list here. What's going to go on the screen? We are going to put a name, Fireflies, for our server, and we pass in the model params. So all the different pieces we've done up here, canvas element, model params, they show up down here to go into the server. And the canvas element had the Firefly portrayal, and so the Firefly portrayal gets in here too. Okay, this is everything we need for the server. Last piece. Up here in the root directory, we're going to make a new file called run.py. This is going to be what we use to run the server. And the last piece that we need, let me go find out where that is. Just a second here. Yes. Okay, it is straightforward from fireflies.server import server. Note that we need the name of the directory Fireflies. That directory name is what goes here. Server is the name of the file, server.py, so directory, name of the file, and then import server. Import this thing. Server.launch. Now, if you are on Windows, you will need to do extra things here that we have found this semester. You will need to do stuff with async IO. to get things all set up with Windows. I'll put that in the comments. It is on our Teams page. That is extra stuff. Okay, so now I'm ready to go launch this. So what do? I go out to my terminal. It has Anaconda ready for it. So I say, let's go find this thing I've been writing. It is under courses, CSCI 285, Fireflies. There's all my things. There's my run.py. And in this directory where I find run.py is where I say Mesa run server. Let's see what breaks. Aha! Init got an unexpected keyword argument flash. Good. This is something I can fix. I named this cycle length and I named this flash, but I should have named it flash length. If you have a name here, cycle length, flash length, that has to be what these are called, cycle length, flash length. Okay, save that. Let's go back and run it again. Cross our fingers. Oop, name Firefly is not defined. How do you not know what a Firefly is? Oh, I understand. Because I moved things to all of these different places, I imported the agent here. I imported the model, but the model did not know what a Firefly is because I didn't import it. So same way I did here, where I say, hey, from the agent file in this directory, go get me the Firefly so I can talk about it. The model needs to do the same thing. So let's put that right here. Good. Small little pieces of debugging. We're getting closer. Oh, I see things going up here. And, on another screen, I get my Fireflies. Now look at that. Fireflies are in the world. I have yellow flashing Fireflies, and I have brown non-flashing Fireflies. Over here on the left-hand side, I have cycle length of 10, and I can drag that between 1 and 20 at increments of 1. I have a flash duration, 1 to 5, starts off at 1. Okay, so let's see what happens when we start the model. Look at that! The Fireflies are moving. They are flashing back and forth. I'm starting to see the synchronization start to happen. There it is. They are flashing all at the same time, or close to the same time. It's kind of waves going across them. There we go. So if I want to run this in different ways, I can change the cycle length, I can change the flash duration, and I can start to test things out here. Now, I would like to make this bigger. 300 by 300 was a little small. Let's make it bigger. So I can go back to the server and say, no, let's try it as, say, twice that big. 600, 600. I save it. Now Mesa says, wait a second, you just saved something when a server's running. I'm going to run it again. And so if you leave it running and keep changing your code, it runs it again. So this is my new model. All I had to do was say save. And Mesa was running in the background. It's like, hey, wait, I reset. I'm starting over again. This is much easier to see. So I can speed it up, change my flash duration to 2, and start the model. And we can see local groups flashing, but they can never all get together and flash at the same time. That is what we were observing in our notebook. And this is the visualization that helps us understand and debug and share with somebody else. I have Fireflies, and they're doing stuff. these are blinking together. I think it doesn't care about this until you hit reset. And then it goes and looks at these values and plugs them in, since they're not dynamically changed and updated once you make your model. So, right, if I change this to 20 now, it's not going to do anything if I hit start. You have to wait until you hit reset, and then it is ready. Notice how it took that into account. Cycle length of 20, less of them are blinking right now. Okay, future extensions you might want to make. You would have a slider that says how many fireflies are here. And you could maybe change the width and height of the world as you have your sliders back and forth. So, lots of different things that you can do with this model. And hopefully this has helped set up a agent-based model with one agent going to the model, doing experiments on it, gathering data, and watching the visualization. Oh, look at them. They are starting to flash in some kind of order here. Hooray! Congratulations. I will leave this there.